So, yeah, battery ran out, so I couldn't record when I was outside because I was fixing the cat yard again. And when I came inside, I thought I'll plug it in, let it charge, and then I'll record. And then suddenly cats were lying on me to keep warm. And I thought, oh, I'll record when there's nobody sleeping on top of me, but that never happened. It's getting colder. I'm warm to sleep on, so right now we have beautiful polka under these lighting conditions. And we have Gecko just walking across me to find his own place on me. And we've got someone angry in the background, not sure why. But anyway, that's a minute wasted on updates. So I'm going to. I think this will probably be the last Intrigue map entry because there are some more esoteric ones, but I don't really. No, Gecko, I don't want to kiss you. Um, I don't really think that they are substantial enough for me to get into. So I'm kind of lumping them in a bit with this one, although this one is actually very substantial. Not sure if that made any sense. What I plan to talk about here is symbolic intrigue relations, and by symbolic I mean it's kind of literally, almost literally, in that it's relations between symbols understood as something intangible that is recognizable and has some meaning. So it's not just fickle, um, random ideas. It's some concrete ideas that are nonetheless not physical things. A common example of this is bloodlines. You have a bloodline, and or someone has a bloodline, and that bloodline in itself, apart from the people who are descended from it, the bloodline itself has relations. The bloodline itself has meaning. Um, People view you or view members of the bloodline specifically as representations of that bloodline. In kind of, um, I don't know if they're controversial, but in stories that deal with touchy subjects, things like race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and the like, if they are if they are something that people can detect and people understand, they get, no, Gecko, I don't want to kiss. They can be symbolic. They can have symbolic relations. People have relations and attitudes. Oh, everybody went away. Gecko came back. Everybody has opinions on. Um, Everybody might have opinion on any kind of symbolic relation, any of any kind of symbol, just like they might with an item or a place or a person or a faction. But that symbol, that concept, maybe it should be conceptual uh, intrigue relations. But that gets kind of broad, so I'm keeping the name symbolic, even though I'm not sure it fits. Um, this is not something that I'm just reading out of a textbook. I had to kind of stitch this together myself because there were things that just didn't fit in, but they still had a kind of structure to them. Anything where you can talk about something being A or B can be considered symbolic. It doesn't have to be people either. It can be purely symbols. We all know that symbols can produce reactions. If you see a swastika, you have an attitude towards what that means. But it can be more complicated than that. People can feel safe around certain symbols. They can feel threatened around certain symbols. Warning labels are a good example of that. And depending on the world, there may be very stringent, very, I wouldn't say strict, but rigidly defined, clearly defined symbols. Again, like the warning symbols, or like something as simple as no parking or no entry or the like. Or yeah, I don't like talking about these things, but I need to just get over it. Segregation symbols, like no, let's just stick to no Irish allowed. That doesn't feel so horrible to say, even though, sorry, I like Irish people. Nothing against Irish people, that just doesn't feel like beating down, and it's not something taking. I need to stop apologizing for it. You people know what I'm talking about. You people who, apparently, some people are actually watching these videos, which blows my mind. I'm just doing this to train myself to keep making videos. But nonsense aside, symbols can have a very important meaning, and there may be relations to them, and those relations are not always universal. A stop sign may seem like it's a universal symbol, it's a warning sign, stop here. But some will see it as a provocation. Hey man, you can't tell me what to do. The state doesn't control my life. Rah, 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 rebellion, stick it to the man. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to paint some graffiti on the stop sign and I'm going to speed over it. And if you want a world to feel really fleshed out, that can be taken to some really serious extremes. You can have a lot of symbols for all kinds of things, for the kind of people that belong or don't belong in a place, for the kind of situations that you should be expecting. Maybe there are symbols that warn you how to adjust your spacesuit to be able to handle a certain atmosphere. Maybe there are symbols telling you what kind of magic is powerful or weak in an area. Maybe there are symbols telling you which which gangs, which factions are active in a certain settlement. Let's take that last one and kind of dig deeper into it, because it's something that might be less familiar, or be a little more esoteric than most. Let's say you have a post-apocalyptic world. You have all the usual intrigue relations. You have relations between key people in the story. You have relations between factions, relations between locations, relations between items, relations across all these things. But then you also have symbolic relations. There are places where when you go there, you can instantly see that certain factions are active there because of the symbols, or that certain events have uh, occurred there or may occur there, that certain dangers are there. And these may be actual deliberate symbols, someone painting warning signs, or a faction setting up, I don't know, blood covered crosses to warn you of their presence. Or it could be someone setting up something welcoming, telling you that you'll be safe here, and there's food, but you have to behave and respect others. Kind of safe haven symbol. And those symbols may be deliberate, they may be designed to be understood, but there may also be a lot of symbols that you need to understand.
that you need to be able to detect maybe a certain color of dust in the air tells you that okay, if you go here, you need this kind of protective gear. And all of this can seem less like something for intrigue and more like simply just background knowledge. But if you take it beyond the low intrigue level, if you start to make it complicated, then it really becomes as much of an intrigue relation as most other things. A certain faction may be closely tied to a certain kind of environment. So when you see green spores in the air, you know not to trust anyone because people who are in this environment tend to belong to a certain faction that is not trustworthy. So all of a sudden, green spores in the air means be on your toes. And even though like items or places, symbolic things are not sentient and cannot have opinions or anything, there can be relations between symbols. If you see, maybe if you see two symbols close to one another, you know that you should be aware of something. Let's say you see, you could walk down one street of a fantasy city, and you see a marking that says that a certain gang who's known for magical violence is present in the area. This could be the gang warning everybody, or this could be other people warning others that these people are present, beware. And then when you walk down the next street, you notice a symbol that says that fire magic is very potent in this area. And you put two and two together and know that this one symbol says these people are here, this other symbol says that this kind of magic is very powerful here. So this is probably a very dangerous place because now you have these people who may be using this very powerful magic, and you don't want to be around that. So symbolic um, intrigue maps are pretty much made like item maps in that you can describe what you would experience, what kind of symbol you would notice, and
What it would mean,
um,
but you can also start describing how those symbols tie
to things.
to the real world. For example, if you walk through a fantasy city and you notice someone with a certain kind of sword, it might not be a very powerful sword or anything, but it is a sword that is decorated in a certain way, which means that it belongs to someone who is um, a certain kind of person. That might be a very combative person. They have this sword because it shows that they're ready to fight at the drop of a hat for no reason whatsoever. Or it may show that they are
Part of a noble cast of guardians of the city, or that they are part of a certain religion. Nobody is telling you this, but there is a symbolic value to the sword itself that ties into other things, and you can tell things about people, about places, based on these symbols. And you can also, again, these symbols reflect on each other because maybe if you spot this sword that says, oh, this is the sword that symbolizes this kind of person, but you notice that the person is not wearing anything else that signifies the same, That might mean that this is a captured sword, and this is a person who is proudly displaying it as a trophy that they defeated one of these people without any words being exchanged, without anything directly being told. You start to notice connections between things happening in the world and the things you're seeing around you. You've just spotted a certain kind of sword on a certain kind of person, and you already know that someone here, at least this person, but probably also others, are hunting down the people who use these swords and taking the swords as trophies. Now, it can be a bit difficult to design a symbolic map because symbols can be anything. Literally anything can be a symbol. The color of the hands on a clock could be a symbol. The way the dirt is strewn across the ground in small settlement could be a symbol. Anything could be a symbol. So it gets a bit nebulous at times, and you need to fixate on the symbols that are most important. That seems to be a given. That's the same for anything, but it's more so for symbols because it can easily get out of control with anything and everything meaning something special, and that waters it down a bit. The symbols that are usually best to focus on are the ones that have strong ties to something more tangible, like knowing what kind of person you're dealing with or what kind of situation or place you're dealing with, and then have other symbols perhaps be tied to those symbols. One thing is a symbol that says, expect this kind of location nearby, expect a place where you can recharge your robot batteries or something. And then you have a symbol that tells you to expect to find those kind of symbols. Expect to find symbols for maintenance and repair in the area. Okay, you know that you can get recharges and repairs and stuff like that, but you still haven't found what you really need. So later on, you find the symbol that you actually need, but you stay there to look for it because you're already kind of aware that one symbol told you that you would likely find another symbol, and that other symbol will show you the way to what you need. And you can have that in long chains, long complicated webs of symbols that become basically the intrigue maps. And because this is kind of nebulous and anything can be anything, it sometimes isn't enough to just say, okay, we'll take the symbol maps and make them separate from item maps or personal intrigue maps or location intrigue maps. We'll make a separate symbol intrigue map. That's often not enough, especially if you go into high intrigue games. You will probably need symbol maps for different kinds of symbols. You could have a symbol map for the symbols that tell you about repairs and maintenance and practical opportunities in the area. You could have another one that's for secret organizations. You could have one that's for family bloodlines. If someone is part of that bloodline, you know what to expect of them, or you know what others will expect of them, especially if it's prejudicial. Someone just think, oh, this bloodline is all villainous. Um, it might be true, it might not be true, but you know that people expect it and will treat people like that. And you will probably need one or more maps all their own if you're dealing with superstitions, or if the superstitions aren't superstitious, it's supernatural elements. If you're dealing with ghostly warnings, or if you're dealing with monsters, you may want signs of those monsters being a map of its own. So you have a sign that says that around here there are blood-sucking zombies or blood-sucking ghouls or whatever, and you know what those symbols and what those symbols mean. But you also have other monsters running around, and you know if you see these two kinds of symbols in a place, those two kinds of monsters are probably uh, in a tussle with each other. And if you see two other symbols, you know that okay, those are two vampire clans that tend to be working together. So I'm not going to be able to use their hatred against each other um, to get out of this alive. You know the symbols, you know what they mean, you know what the relations they signify are, and you should probably have, as I said, um, relation mapping for different groups of symbols because otherwise it can get really, really messy. And Jesus, I thought we've already passed 20 minutes. It's already long and it's getting cold here this time of year. It's getting colder, so before my hand starts to freeze off or something, I'll cut it here. Um, I'm still working on making symbolic intrigue more concrete, but this is both a very confusing topic and therefore a topic that is open to a lot of creativity and possibility. Symbols, you're pretty free to think up whatever significance you want for them, unlike items and locations that you and factions and people that usually tend to have to make some kind of sense. Symbolic relations, symbol intrigue relations, you've got a pretty wide berth. You can do a lot with it, but it also makes it hard to say concretely, this is how it works, this is how it doesn't work. So sorry if it's a bit vague, but I hope the vagueness just helps to spur some inspirational thoughts in you. Those people who are apparently watching my videos for some reason. I'm going to make a remark about that and what I hope to do for people who are actually starting to view my videos, but that will be in another video. Rant out.